What the are you doing here, little buddy? Have a rest. Just relax. Take a load off your feet.
Welcome to Antimatters. Hello everyone, up today part 2 of the Ant Cave tour. First species on today's episode is the Polyrakus dives. So how have the dives been getting on then? Well, they're doing alright at the minute, although they had a recent hiccup. I've had these girls for about 6 months now, and currently, as I said, they're having some issues. It's not apocalyptic levels, so I'm not really doing anything drastic at the minute. They've perked up since AntCon as well. All of a sudden, they've got their hunger back, and have been out in force again, for the first time since around late February. All I've changed is their sugar from standard sugar water to snaps. It's possible they had a vitamin or mineral deficiency. Inside their tube, it's all been woven up. They did all of this when I first got them, and it's hung around. Unfortunately, due to their lapse in brood, they haven't been maintaining it though. Hopefully this will all change if they can get lots of mature larvae going. I suspect the poor single larvae at the moment is a little bit stressed as well, being the sole glue gun. It needs some backup. This colony still has 2 queens, I believe. Here's one in the middle. They're only slightly bigger than the workers. At least one of them is still laying for sure. My plan moving forward with the polys is to keep the snaps and protein going. I might nudge their temperature up a little bit as well. They're currently at 27 to 28 Celsius, but I might up it to 29. See how things get on. I've seen good results in the low 30 Celsius with polys before, but I'm not going to jump straight there yet. Fingers crossed though that by next year I can have a really nice Polyrakus colony all ready to go. Up now, a little Manica colony in a DIY setup. A nearly impossible to film setup as well. This is Ramirez from the Manica Rubida challenge in maybe 2023. They've been kept on a pretty solid diet for the past year or so, with no real growth, but no contraction either, so they're doing great in my opinion. I've no interest in a huge colony of Manica anytime soon. In their super slim chambers, they have heaps of larvae slowly maturing away. They've slowed down growing because of the diet, I think, so it takes them months to mature. But the lower birth rate is what I'm after. Despite the filming difficulties, these girls make a good desk colony. It's easier to see them with your real eyes, and room temperature keeps development down. At some point, I may bump up their food a little so they fill out the chambers just a bit more, but only by a tiny bit more food. I wouldn't expect any vids on them soon either, because filming them, it's just so hard. You can't get the camera and the light inside of any of the chambers. You can watch them feed in the outside, but, well, it's not really a proper video if you've just got your ants feeding in the outworld. Well, it's not my style anyway. The Manica workers themselves are looking really nice and fat, so I think the whole colony is doing alright, even with their reduced numbers. In a Gen 4 Wakushi nest too. No issues with this one though. So, after their recent boom in population, the Fuska seem to be doing very well, despite the mingingness of their setup. They are tricky to clean, due to their acid, which they're likely to gas themselves, and their speed. And at the minute, it's not worth the risk of stressing them out just to make a sparkling setup. They do have a nice trash heap though. I like the trash heap, however, because it allows me to see what's going on inside of the nest at the minute. There's a couple of princess bodies, I hope, and they're not the queen, but there's a few bodies there. There's also a few other living elate running around in the colony still. I thought maybe they'd finished with all of that because I plucked out quite a few of the elates and there were no winged ones left. I figured that was it, however, some more have sprouted up. I should really remove them while they still have their wings, and I can tell that they're not the queen. Once they lose their wings, I can't really take them out because I don't have a clue which, queen looking thing is the actual queen. and there's quite a few of them running around. The workers of this colony are in excellent condition right now. Earlier on in the year, you may have remembered me commenting on how fat they were all getting right before they had a massive brood wave, and I'm really excited to see if they're going to have another massive brood wave because they're all so chunky now. It would be absolutely huge if it was on the scale of the one before. Because they've got a bigger population, they can have a bigger boom. In the nest itself, there currently isn't any eggs, larvae or brood at all. They're just likely in between brood waves. And also, last time they showed off their babies, someone came down from the sky and abducted them. In nature, I found good brood piles in mid to late July, so I'm expecting some eggs any week soon. I doubt there'll be much brood going until September. Sometimes they produce a little bit of overwinter brood. They've had a great spring this year though, and I can't ask them for any more. I'm completely satisfied with their progress this season. They're doing brilliant. I'm hoping they can do the same thing next year. It would be nice if they produce another wave of brood, and maybe they produce some more late, so I can do some more experiments in the captive breeding department as well. I've got big plans for the Formica Fuska. From one Formica to another. This is the Formica rufa. They look a bit funny in this setup because the pink and the camera, they don't really get along too well, and it washes out all of the colour. I don't want to disturb them too much as well. At the minute, they haven't got any brood, much like the Formica Fuska, but I think they're doing alright. The queen seems strong, and her workers that have survived, there's no Formica Fuska left anymore, but the remaining workers are strong girls, and I think they'll be able to pull it all through. It does worry me that they have a lot less workers than they'd have in nature to start off with, I think, but it might be okay. It would be really nice to have a big colony of Formica rufa, however, I haven't got my hopes up. I think founding them is quite difficult, and to get to this stage is, and that's good enough for my first round. You'll maybe see the rufa again one day. Time for 3 native species in a row. Here we have the Myrmica rubra that live inside of the dirt setup, and they've been really busy since the last update. They've been digging out new chambers, and numbers have definitely gone up a bit. In the outworld, there's always at least 5 of them running around doing stuff. They're such a wonderful active species. It's one of the reasons that they're my favourite ant of all ants. Inside of the nests, some of the chambers look a bit empty until you look up. Recently, they decided to excavate a few more chambers up top. They're now chock full of eggs, larvae and pupae, and babies too. Most of the chambers have a golden hue to them, and it's simply all of these fresh new babies. I love it when they're so young. And here's the queen come to show herself. I think this colony has about 7 queens. Each chamber has its own set of queens though, and normally they come in 2s. Oh, I love the dinky rubras though. They'll stay golden for about a week if I'm lucky. I did a proper identification of this colony as well, and they're definitely Myrmica rubra. I used my fresh new book that I ordered when I was at AntCon. It's always nice to double check though that you got the right ant. Let's have a look at the queens though quick. Each chamber, as I was saying, most of the brood chambers, they have 2 queens. Here's one of them in this chamber, but here's the bottom one. As you can see, there's 2 up front. There's also another little queen tucked behind, but she doesn't actually belong here. She's what I call the nomads. There's a pair of them, but she's one of them, and here's the other girl. These 2 queens, they run around the nest, and they don't really have a set chamber. They just seem to be patrolling the other queens, and I don't know what they're up to, but they're definitely a lot more mobile than the kind of chambered up queens. I should really mark them. If I'm lucky, they'll come out and get some food one day, and maybe I'll get the opportunity to mark them with a chalk pen. Then I could kind of figure out a little bit more what they're up to. In a time lapse though, you can see them at the bottom. they run around for a bit. There's the pair. They pair up as well. That seems to be kind of a normal thing that the Rubra Queens do. They like being in pairs. Then they start exploring all of the chambers. They'll head up to one of the brood chambers together, and then kind of wander around the nest to the next one, and into the next one. I only caught them going to the first one here, but yeah. You can also see in the reflection me in a sandwich. The queens aren't the only thing that go in twos as well. The workers often have a little follower behind them. Well, the mature ones anyway. This one carrying the pupae has a little baby. She's probably trying to find her way to another chamber where it's not as bright maybe, because I've shone really bright lights into the nest. Myrmica rubra though, they are just the best. They never let me down in the brood department, and they're always going after the food. This was quite a weak feeding response really for them, but it was alright. After stressing the colony out, I decided to try and get them to eat some food. The issue, however, is I think all of the ants were more worried about moving the brood and little baby workers about to safer locations that were maybe darker than actually going out and eating any of the food. To begin with, they didn't touch the protein at all. The sugar got a little bit of activity, however. Once the workers walk about the 10 centimetres back into the nest, they start some aggressive trophallaxis. All of the other ants kind of get a whiff of what's going on, and they'll come rushing in. There's never just two of them eating. The trophallaxis is never between just two ants. I reckon these girls are going to get quite big by next year, so they should be really fun, I think, then. For now, they're really nice to look at. So that's all for part 2 of the Ant Cave tour. I hope you enjoyed it. Until part 3, may your ants live long and prosper. Thanks for watching, have a fabulous week, and bye!